The bathroom door slammed open with such force that it cracked against the tile wall. Tyler Reaper Harrison had seen a lot in his 48 years. 23 of those years riding with the Hells Angels, 5 tours in Afghanistan as a Marine, and 3 years in a federal prison for assault. He'd watched men die. He'd killed men himself, though those ghosts only visited him in the dark hours before dawn. He'd been shot twice, stabbed 4 times, and survived a motorcycle crash at 90 miles per hour that should have turned him into a red smear on the asphalt. But nothing, absolutely nothing, had prepared him for the sight of a woman bursting into the men's bathroom of Pete's Roadhouse, like the devil himself was chasing her. She was small. That was Tyler's first thought. Maybe 5'3", drowning in an oversized cardigan that had seen better days. Her honey blonde hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, strands falling across a face that was pale as death except for the vivid purple bruise blooming across her left cheekbone. Her green eyes were wild with terror, darting around the bathroom like a trapped animal looking for escape. Those eyes landed on Tyler, standing at the sink washing his hands, all 6'4", 240 pounds of tattooed muscle, leather, and silver rings. His Hells Angels cut hung open over a black t-shirt that did nothing to hide the ink covering every visible inch of his arms and crawling up his neck. The woman froze. Tyler froze. For exactly 3 heartbeats, neither of them moved. The only sound was the drip, drip, drip of the leaky faucet and the muffled country music bleeding through from the bar. Then the woman did something that shocked Tyler down to his boots. She didn't run, didn't scream, just looked him dead in the eye and whispered 2 words that would change both their lives forever. Please help. Before we begin this incredible journey, please hit that subscribe button and follow this story to the very end. Drop a comment below telling me what city you're watching from. I love seeing how far these stories travel across the world. Her voice cracked on the second word. Fresh tears spilled down her cheeks, cutting tracks through what looked like hastily applied makeup that couldn't quite cover the bruising. Tyler's hands, still wet from the sink, clenched into fists. Every protective instinct he'd buried under 23 years of forced indifference roared to life in his chest. Who did that to your face? His voice came out rougher than he intended, like gravel in a blender. The woman flinched at his tone, and Tyler mentally cursed himself. Easy. She's terrified. Don't make it worse. Before she could answer, the bathroom door flew open again. The man who entered was everything Tyler expected and worse. Mid-30s, expensive suit that probably cost more than Tyler's bike, perfectly styled dark hair that screamed too much product and not enough substance. Handsome in that catalog model way that Tyler had learned to distrust on sight. But it was his eyes that told Tyler everything he needed to know. Cold, calculating, and currently locked on the woman with an expression that made Tyler's blood run cold. Possession. That's what that look was. Not love, not concern. Pure toxic ownership. Natalie. The man's voice was smooth as silk and twice as slippery. Baby, what are you doing in here? You know you're not supposed to. She's with me. Tyler cut him off, his voice dropping into that deadly quiet tone that had made grown men think twice about starting fights. He shifted his position, placing himself between the woman, Natalie, and the suit. The man's eyes finally registered Tyler's presence. Tyler watched him do the math, taking in the leather cut with its Hells Angels patches, the visible tattoos, the scars, the sheer size difference between them. Tyler had 4 inches and probably 60 pounds of muscle on this guy. Smart men backed down at this point. This guy wasn't smart. I don't know who you think you are, buddy, but that's my girlfriend, and this is none of your business. The man tried to step around Tyler. Tyler shifted again, blocking him. She doesn't look like she wants to go with you. Natalie. The man's voice turned sharp, authoritative, the voice of someone used to being obeyed. Get out here right now, we're going home. No, the word was barely a whisper, but it hit the bathroom like a thunderclap. Tyler glanced back at Natalie. She'd pressed herself against the far wall, arms wrapped around her middle like she was trying to hold herself together through sheer force of will. She was shaking so hard Tyler could see it from where he stood. No, she said again, stronger this time. I'm not going with you, Cameron. I'm done. Cameron. So that's the bastard's name. Cameron's perfect face twisted into something ugly. You're done? You're done? His voice rose to a near shout. After everything I've given you, the apartment, the clothes, the black eyes, Tyler interrupted, his voice deadly calm. The bruises? Those things you gave her too? Cameron's eyes snapped to Tyler, and for the first time, Tyler saw real anger there. I don't know what lies she's been feeding you, but Natalie is clumsy. She falls a lot. Has trouble with stairs. Right, baby? The way he said it made Tyler's stomach turn. How many times had this piece of trash used that excuse? How many people had believed it? That so? Tyler took a step toward Cameron. Just one step, but it was enough. Funny thing about people who fall a lot. They usually have bruises in different stages of healing. Know what that bruise on her face tells me? That someone hit her. Hard. Probably yesterday. Cameron's jaw tightened. I said, she's clumsy. And I said she's with me. Tyler crossed his arms over his chest. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to turn around, walk out that door, and forget you ever saw her. She'll get her things from wherever you've been keeping her, but you won't be there when she does. Understand? Cameron laughed. Actually laughed like Tyler had just told the funniest joke he'd ever heard. Do you know who I am? Cameron pulled out his wallet, flashing it open to reveal a badge. Detective Cameron Foster, Seattle PD. So whatever white knight fantasy you've got playing in your head, forget it. Natalie is coming with me, and you're going to step aside before I arrest you for obstruction. Tyler's blood turned to ice. A cop. The bastard was a cop. Which meant Natalie had probably already tried reporting him. Which meant she'd already learned what happened when you reported a cop for abuse. Nothing. Absolutely nothing except making things worse for yourself. Tyler had seen it before. Too many times to count. The system protecting its own while the victims suffered in silence. Arrest me, Tyler said softly. For what? Standing in a bathroom? Pretty sure that's not illegal, detective. For interfering with police business. Don't see any police business happening here. Just a woman who doesn't want to leave with you. Cameron's hand moved to his hip, where Tyler could now see the telltale bulge of a concealed weapon. Last chance. Move. The bathroom fell silent except for Natalie's rapid breathing behind Tyler. He could feel her fear like a living thing pressing against his back. Tyler had choices to make, bad ones mostly. He could step aside, let Cameron take Natalie, maybe call the cops himself later, but they wouldn't help. Cameron was one of them. Or he could fight a cop, which would land him back in prison faster than he could blink, and Natalie would still end up going with Cameron. Or he could do what he'd always been best at, creating chaos and dealing with the consequences later. Natalie, Tyler said without taking his eyes off Cameron. You got a phone on you? Yes, she stammered. Good. Take it out. Call 911. Tell them there's an armed man threatening people in Pete's Roadhouse bathroom. She's not calling anyone, Cameron snarled. She's calling 911 like I just told her to, Tyler continued calmly. Because right now you're an armed man threatening 2 civilians. And even if you are a cop, I'm guessing your department's going to have questions about why you're in a men's bathroom, waving your gun around at an unarmed biker and your ex-girlfriend who's got fresh bruises on her face. He watched Cameron's face cycle through emotions, anger, calculation, more anger. The detective's hand stayed on his weapon. Do it, Natalie, Tyler said. He heard her fumble with her phone behind him, heard her breathing accelerate. Don't you dare, Cameron warned. 911, what's your emergency? Natalie's voice was shaking so badly Tyler could barely make out her words, but she was doing it. She was actually doing it. There's a man with a gun in the bathroom at Pete's Roadhouse. He's threatening people. Please send help. Cameron's face went purple with rage. You stupid bitch, do you have any idea what you just... Tyler moved. He didn't hit Cameron. That would give the cop exactly what he needed to make this worse. Instead, he grabbed Cameron's wrist with one hand and twisted, using a joint lock he'd learned in the Marines to control the detective's gun hand. His other hand came up to Cameron's throat, not choking, just holding, making his point crystal clear. Call me old-fashioned, Tyler growled, his face inches from Cameron's. But where I come from, you don't call a woman that. Ever. Cameron struggled, but Tyler had 50 pounds of muscle and 23 years of street fighting experience on him. The detective wasn't going anywhere. Sir, are you still there? What's happening? The 911 operator's voice crackled from Natalie's phone. Ma'am, Tyler called out, still holding Cameron in place. This is Tyler Harrison. The man with the gun is Detective Cameron Foster, Seattle PD. He's also the man who gave his girlfriend those bruises on her face. Might want to send some officers who aren't friends with him. Cameron's struggles intensified. You're dead, he hissed. Do you hear me? You're fucking dead. Yeah. Tyler muttered. "Get in line." The bathroom door crashed open for the third time, and this time it was Pete himself, the roadhouse owner, followed by 3 of Tyler's brothers from the club. Reaper, Thor, the club's sergeant-at-arms, took in the scene with one sweeping glance. "We heard the lady on the phone with 911. What's the situation?" "Cop," Tyler said shortly, jerking his chin toward Cameron. "Beating his girlfriend. She ran in here to escape." He followed, started making threats. Thor's expression went dark. The other 2 brothers, Bones and Widow, moved to flank Tyler without being asked. "Ma'am," Thor addressed Natalie gently. His voice, when he wasn't dealing with club business, could be surprisingly soft. "You okay? You hurt?" Natalie shook her head mutely, still pressed against the wall. "That bruise on your face. He do that?" She nodded. "There other bruises? Places we can't see?" Another nod, smaller this time. Ashamed. Tyler felt his control slip a fraction. The rage that had been simmering in his gut since Natalie burst through that door roared up hot and vicious. His grip on Cameron tightened involuntarily. "Easy, brother," Thor said quietly, reading Tyler's body language like a book. "Don't give him the excuse." Tyler forced himself to breathe. To relax his grip just enough that Cameron could breathe freely, but not enough to let him go. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. "Natalie," Pete spoke up from the doorway. He was 68 years old, ran the roadhouse with his wife Martha, and had been feeding the local Hells Angels chapter for 15 years. "You got somewhere safe to go? Family? Friends?" Natalie's voice cracked. "I don't. He made me cut them all off. Said they were bad influences. Said I was better off with just him." Tyler's jaw clenched so hard he heard his teeth grind. Classic isolation tactic. Cut off the victim's support system so they have nowhere to run. "You got her now," Thor said firmly. "Club takes care of its own, and anyone Reaper vouches for is one of ours. That cool with you, Reaper?" Tyler didn't hesitate. "Yeah, that's cool." "You can't be serious," Cameron sputtered. "You're going to trust her with these criminals? I'm a detective. I'm the one who can protect her." "Protect her?" Tyler's voice dropped to that dangerous quiet again. "Like you've been protecting her. By beating her when she doesn't do what you want. By isolating her from everyone who gives a damn about her. That's your idea of protection, detective." The sirens were right outside now, car doors slamming, voices shouting. "Seattle PD, we're coming in." "Bathroom," Pete yelled back. "Got one of yours in here with a gun. Situation's contained, but it's delicate." 4 officers burst into the bathroom, weapons drawn, taking in the scene. Tyler recognized the lead officer, Captain Sarah Williams. She'd busted him twice in his younger days before he'd gotten smart about which lines not to cross. She was fair, tough, and didn't take shit from anyone, including her own people. Her eyes widened slightly when she saw who Tyler was holding. "Detective Foster," she said carefully. "You want to explain why I got a 911 call about you threatening civilians with your weapon?" "This is a misunderstanding, Captain," Cameron said smoothly, his cop voice sliding back into place like he hadn't just been threatening murder 30 seconds ago. "My girlfriend had too much to drink. She ran in here confused. This man assaulted me when I tried to help her." "That's not true." Natalie's voice cut through Cameron's lies. Still shaking, still terrified, but stronger now. "He hit me yesterday. I tried to leave him. He followed me here, cornered me in this bathroom, pulled his gun when this man tried to help me." Captain Williams' gaze moved to Natalie, taking in the visible bruising, the terror in her eyes, the way she was physically shrinking away from Cameron. "Ma'am, I'm Captain Williams. Can you tell me your name?" "Natalie Summers." "Natalie, have you been drinking tonight?" "No, ma'am. I'm stone cold sober." "She's lying," Cameron interjected. "She's had a drinking problem for months. I've been trying to get her help, but—" "Shut up, Cameron." Captain Williams' voice cracked like a whip. She turned to one of her officers. "Rodriguez, call for a female officer and a DV advocate, and get medical out here." "Captain, this is ridiculous," Cameron protested. "I'm telling you. And I'm telling you to be quiet." Williams looked at Tyler. "You can let him go now. We've got him." Tyler hesitated. His every instinct screamed not to trust cops to handle this, but Thor caught his eye and nodded slightly. Slowly, Tyler released his grip and stepped back. Cameron immediately straightened his suit, his face a mask of indignation. "Captain, I want this man arrested for assault. He attacked me without provocation. Funny, Williams said dryly. That's not what I saw on the doorbell camera Pete installed in this hallway last month. What I saw was you following Miss Summers into this bathroom after she clearly ran away from you. What I saw was you reaching for your weapon while confronting unarmed civilians. What I saw was you verbally abusing Miss Summers. Cameron's face went white. There's a camera? Been there 6 months, ever since Pete had that robbery attempt. Williams pulled out her cuffs. Detective Cameron Foster, you're being placed on administrative leave pending investigation into allegations of domestic violence and abuse of power. Hand over your weapon and your badge. You can't be serious. Deadly serious. Weapon, badge, now. The bathroom fell silent as Cameron slowly, rage radiating from every pore, removed his service weapon and badge and handed them over. Officer Martinez will escort you outside, Williams continued. You're going to give a statement, and then you're going to go home. Your home, not Miss Summers. And you're going to stay away from her while we investigate. Understood? This is bullshit, Cameron hissed. You're taking the word of a criminal over a decorated detective. I'm taking the word of a victim with visible injuries over a cop who followed her into a bathroom with his weapon drawn. Now move. Martinez, a stocky officer with kind eyes, took Cameron's arm and guided him out of the bathroom. But not before Cameron locked eyes with Natalie one last time. The look he gave her was pure venom, a promise that this wasn't over. Tyler saw it and filed it away for later. Once Cameron was gone, Captain Williams approached Natalie carefully, the way you'd approach a wounded animal. Natalie, I need to ask you some questions, okay? Just preliminary stuff. Then medical is going to check you over, make sure you're okay. Natalie nodded mutely. How long has Detective Foster been abusing you? 8 months. Natalie's voice was barely a whisper. Since about 3 months after we started dating. Have you tried to report him before? A bitter laugh escaped Natalie's lips. Twice. The first time, they told me there must be some misunderstanding. The second time, his lieutenant came to the apartment and told me I was making things very difficult for a good man who was just trying to help me with my drinking problem. Her voice cracked. I don't have a drinking problem. I barely drink. But Cameron told everyone I did. Made them think I was unstable. Williams' jaw tightened. Names. I need the names of everyone who ignored your reports. While Natalie gave her statement, Tyler stepped back to give them space. Thor clapped a hand on his shoulder. Hell of a thing you just walked into, brother. Yeah. Tyler couldn't take his eyes off Natalie. Even brutalized and terrified, there was something about her. A core of strength that had allowed her to run, to fight back, to call 911 even when she was shaking so hard she could barely hold the phone. You vouched for her, Thor said quietly. You know what that means. I know. In club terms, Tyler had just claimed responsibility for Natalie's safety, which meant if anything happened to her, it was on him. Good. Thor squeezed his shoulder. Been a long time since I've seen that look in your eyes, Reaper. Whatever it is, don't fight it. Just see where it goes. Tyler didn't answer. Couldn't answer. Because he wasn't sure what Thor had seen in his eyes, but he could feel something shifting in his chest. Something that had been dead and buried for 5 years, since Jessica. Jessica, who died of an overdose in a motel room while Tyler was in prison serving 3 years for beating the dealer who'd gotten her hooked in the first place. Jessica, who'd been 26 years old and beautiful and broken, and Tyler had tried to save her but failed. He'd sworn after that. No more women, no more caring, no more opening himself up to that kind of pain. But looking at Natalie, at the fear and hope warring in her green eyes, Tyler felt those walls starting to crack. Medical arrived. A kind-faced EMT named Sheila, who took Natalie to the ambulance to check her injuries privately. Captain Williams approached Tyler once they were alone. That was a dangerous thing you just did, Harrison. Yeah, I've been told I have poor survival instincts. Williams almost smiled. Cameron Foster is bad news. He's got friends in the department. Powerful friends. They're going to make this difficult. For her or for me? Both. Williams met his gaze steadily. I'm going to do everything I can to protect Miss Summers and make sure this investigation is thorough. But I need you to be smart about this. Don't give Foster's friends ammunition to use against you. Don't go near him. Don't threaten him. Already did both those things. I saw. But from here on out, you let the system work." Tyler snorted. "The system that ignored her first two complaints?" William's expression hardened. "The system that's got a female captain who doesn't give a shit about boys' club politics and who will burn this department down to protect a victim if she has to. Trust me on this, Harrison. I'm one of the good ones." Tyler studied her for a long moment. He'd learned not to trust cops years ago, but he'd also learned to read people, and Williams had honest eyes. "Okay," he said finally. "I'll play it your way. For now. That's all I'm asking." Williams pulled out a business card. "This is my direct line. You see or hear anything that concerns you regarding Foster, you call me immediately. Don't handle it yourself." Tyler took the card and tucked it into his cut. "And if your investigation doesn't go anywhere? If Foster walks like they always do?" Williams's smile was sharp as a blade. "Then I'd suggest Miss Summers find somewhere very far away from Seattle to be. Somewhere with people who can protect her. But that's just a suggestion from one concerned citizen to another." She walked away, leaving Tyler standing in the bathroom that had become the epicenter of what might be the biggest mistake of his life. Or maybe, just maybe, the best decision he'd ever made. The EMT finished with Natalie about 20 minutes later. Tyler watched from the bar as Sheila helped her down from the ambulance, handing her some paperwork and what looked like a prescription. Natalie's eyes scanned the parking lot until they found Tyler. Even from 30 feet away, he could see the question in her gaze. Now what? Tyler drained his whiskey and stood. His brothers had formed a protective semicircle around the bar entrance, making sure no one bothered them. Thor raised an eyebrow as Tyler walked past. "Taking her home?" "Clubhouse," Tyler said. "She needs somewhere safe tonight, somewhere Foster can't find her." "Want company, in case he decides to be stupid?" "Yeah, you, Bones, and Widow. The rest can head home." Thor nodded and started organizing the others. Tyler approached Natalie slowly, keeping his movements careful and non-threatening. Up close he could see more details, the dark circles under her eyes suggesting weeks of sleepless nights, the way her hands shook slightly even though the immediate danger had passed, the careful way she held herself like every movement hurt. "Hey," he said softly. "Hey." She tried to smile and failed. "Thank you. For everything. I don't even know your name." "Tyler Harrison. Most people call me Reaper." "Reaper." She tested the name on her tongue. "That's intimidating." "Yeah, well, I'm a pretty intimidating guy." This time her smile was a little more successful. "You were intimidating to Cameron. You're not intimidating to me." Tyler didn't know what to do with that. With the trust he saw in her eyes, the belief that he was somehow safe when he'd spent his entire adult life being anything but. "Natalie, you got somewhere to stay tonight? Friends, family?" Her smile faded. "No. Cameron. He made me cut everyone off. My parents live in Vermont and I haven't talked to them in 6 months. My friends gave up trying to reach me about 4 months ago." She looked down at her hands. "I have nowhere." "You got somewhere now." Tyler jerked his chin toward his bike. "Clubhouse is safe. Foster doesn't know where it is, and even if he did, he'd have to get through about 40 brothers to reach you. You'll have your own room, your own space, just until we figure something else out." Natalie studied him for a long moment. "Why are you helping me? You don't know me." It was a fair question. Tyler wasn't entirely sure of the answer himself. "Let's just say I've got a thing about men who hit women," he said finally, "and leave it at that." It wasn't the whole truth, but it was all he could give her right now. Natalie nodded slowly. "Okay, thank you. Again. I don't know how I'll ever repay you." "You don't owe me anything. Come on, let's get you somewhere warm." They walked to Tyler's Harley. Natalie stared at it with wide eyes. "I've never been on a motorcycle before. First time for everything. It's safe, I promise. Got a spare helmet in the saddlebag." He helped her with the helmet, his fingers gentle as he adjusted the straps under her chin. She flinched once when his hand came too close to the bruise on her face, and Tyler felt that rage spike in his gut again. "Sorry," Natalie whispered. "Don't be. Not your fault your body learned to expect pain from men's hands." Something flickered in her eyes. Understanding, maybe, or appreciation that he got it. Tyler climbed onto the bike and helped Natalie settle behind him. He felt her tense when her arms wrapped around his waist. Hold tight, he said. I'll take it slow, but you gotta hold on. Okay. Her voice was small, but her grip was firm. Tyler started the engine, the familiar rumble vibrating through his body, and pulled out of the parking lot with Thor, Bones, and Widow following behind. The ride to the clubhouse normally took 15 minutes. Tyler stretched it to 25, keeping his speed down, taking turns gentle and easy. By the time they pulled up to the compound, he could feel Natalie's death grip on his waist had relaxed slightly. The clubhouse sat on 5 acres outside Seattle proper, surrounded by a fence and gate that required a code to open. Inside, the main building was surprisingly well maintained for a bunch of bikers. Fresh paint, good repairs, a garden in back that Martha from Pete's Roadhouse helped them maintain. Tyler pulled up to the main entrance and killed the engine. Natalie climbed off carefully, pulling off the helmet with shaking hands. This is where you live? When I'm not at my apartment, yeah. Club owns the property. About 15 of us use it regularly. The front door opened and out walked Rosie, the club's unofficial den mother and one of the few women with a full patch. She was 58, built like a tank, covered in tattoos, and had a heart bigger than Texas. Heard we got a guest, she said, her gravelly voice somehow managing to sound welcoming despite years of cigarettes and whiskey. Her sharp eyes took in Natalie's bruises. Oh, baby, come here. Natalie didn't move, looking at Tyler uncertainly. It's okay, he said quietly. Rosie runs this place. You're safe with her. Slowly, Natalie walked toward Rosie, who immediately wrapped her in a gentle hug that made Natalie's careful composure crack. She started crying, great heaving sobs that shook her whole body. Rosie just held her, murmuring soft words Tyler couldn't hear, running a hand over Natalie's hair like she was soothing a child. Tyler looked away, giving them privacy, his chest tight with emotions he didn't know how to name. Thor appeared at his elbow. You did good, brother. Yeah. Tyler's voice was rough. We'll see. That night changed everything, though Tyler didn't know it yet. He was about to learn that sometimes the most important battles aren't the ones you fight with your fists, but the ones you fight with your heart. And sometimes the person you save ends up saving you right back. Stay with us. This story is just beginning. Comment below if you're rooting for Tyler and Natalie. I love reading your support. Natalie woke up in a strange room, in a strange bed, her heart pounding before her eyes even opened. Where was she? Why did every muscle in her body ache? Why? The memories crashed over her like a wave. Cameron, the bathroom. Tyler, the Hell's Angel who'd stood between her and certain death. Natalie sat up slowly, taking in her surroundings in the pale morning light filtering through simple curtains. The room was small but clean, a double bed with surprisingly soft sheets, a dresser with a mirror, a nightstand with a lamp and a glass of water she didn't remember pouring. Someone had left clothes folded neatly on the dresser, jeans that looked like they might actually fit, a soft flannel shirt, clean socks, and underwear still in the package. Natalie's throat tightened. Someone had gone shopping for her. Bought her clothes because she'd fled Cameron's apartment with nothing but the clothes on her back and a desperate prayer. A gentle knock on the door made her flinch. Honey, you awake? Rosie's voice, warm and maternal. Got coffee and breakfast if you're hungry. Natalie climbed out of bed, wincing at the pain in her ribs. Cameron had kicked her there 2 days ago when she'd burned dinner. She'd learned to hide the bruises where people couldn't see them. She opened the door to find Rosie holding a steaming mug of coffee and wearing a smile that crinkled the corners of her eyes. Morning, baby. How'd you sleep? Better than I have in months, Natalie admitted. I didn't know where I was when I woke up. It scared me for a second. That's normal. Your body's still in survival mode. Takes time for your brain to catch up to the fact that you're safe now. Rosie handed her the coffee. Get dressed. Breakfast is in 20 minutes. Tyler and I need to talk to you about some things. Tyler. Just hearing his name sent a confusing mix of emotions through Natalie's chest. She'd never met anyone like him. Cameron had always told her that men like Tyler, bikers, criminals, men with tattoos and leather, were dangerous. Told her to cross the street if she saw them coming. Told her they were the kind of men who hurt women for fun. But Tyler hadn't hurt her. Cameron had. Tyler had protected her when he had every reason to walk away. Natalie dressed quickly in the clothes that had been left for her. They fit better than they had any right to, like whoever bought them had actually paid attention to her size. She finger-combed her hair, wished desperately for a toothbrush, and made her way downstairs following the smell of bacon and coffee. The clubhouse kitchen was massive and surprisingly modern. Stainless steel appliances, granite countertops, an 8-burner stove that Rosie was currently using to cook what looked like enough breakfast to feed an army. Tyler sat at the long wooden table that dominated the center of the room, his hands wrapped around a mug of coffee, his leather cut hanging on the back of his chair. Without it, in just a black t-shirt and jeans, he looked different. Less intimidating, maybe. Or maybe just tired. Natalie could see dark circles under his eyes, suggesting he hadn't slept much. He looked up when she entered, and something in his expression softened. "Morning." "Morning?" Natalie hovered in the doorway, unsure what to do, where to sit, how to act. "Sit down, honey," Rosie called from the stove. "You look like you're about to bolt, and trust me, the bacon tastes better when you're sitting." That startled a small laugh out of Natalie. She took a seat at the table, careful to leave space between herself and Tyler, her body still programmed to maintain distance from men. Tyler noticed and carefully didn't comment. "Sleep okay?" he asked instead. "Yes, actually, better than I expected." Natalie wrapped her hands around her coffee mug, drawing warmth from the ceramic. "Thank you, for the room, for the clothes, for everything." Rosie picked out the clothes. "I just gave her your approximate size." "You're good at approximating." Natalie took a sip of coffee. They fit perfectly. Tyler's lips quirked in an almost smile. 23 years in the life you learn to read people, sizes included. Rosie arrived at the table with plates piled high with bacon, eggs, toast, and hash browns. She set them down and took a seat across from Natalie. "Eat," she commanded gently. "You're too skinny. When's the last time you had a real meal?" Natalie couldn't remember. Cameron had controlled her food too. Too many calories meant she was getting fat. Too few meant she wasn't taking care of herself properly. She'd learned to navigate the impossible middle ground while her body slowly ate itself from the inside out. "I don't remember," she admitted quietly. Rosie's expression darkened. "Well, you're eating now, and Tyler and I need to talk to you about some things. But food first." They ate in companionable silence. Natalie forced herself to take small bites, aware that her stomach had shrunk from months of restricted eating. The food was delicious, simple, hearty, made with care. Each bite felt like rebellion, like reclaiming a piece of herself that Cameron had stolen. When the plates were cleared, Tyler poured everyone more coffee and leaned back in his chair. "Natalie, I talked to Captain Williams this morning. She called me at 6 a.m. Natalie's stomach dropped. "What did she say?" "Investigation's moving forward. They're taking your complaint seriously, but Cameron's got friends in the department, friends who are going to make this difficult." Tyler's jaw tightened. "Williams asked me to ask you something. Are you willing to press charges officially? Make a formal statement? Go through the whole process?" Natalie's hands started shaking. She set down her coffee mug before she spilled it. "I tried that before. Twice. Nothing happened." "I know, but this time's different. This time there's a witness. Me. There's the bathroom camera footage showing him following you with his weapon drawn. There's EMT documentation of your injuries. And there's Williams, who actually gives a shit about justice." Tyler leaned forward. "But I gotta be straight with you, Natalie. This won't be easy. Cameron's lawyers will tear you apart on the stand. They'll make you out to be crazy, unstable, a vindictive ex making false accusations. They'll drag your name through the mud." "So I shouldn't do it?" Natalie heard the defeat in her own voice. "I didn't say that." Tyler's voice was firm. "I'm saying you should know what you're walking into. This is going to be a war, and Cameron's got resources you don't. But she's got us." Rosie reached across the table and squeezed Natalie's hand. "The club doesn't abandon family, and anyone Tyler vouches for is family." Natalie looked between them, these two strangers who'd shown her more kindness in 12 hours than Cameron had shown her in 8 months. "Why?" The word burst out of her. "Why are you doing this? You don't know me. I could be lying. I could be everything Cameron says I am. Why would you risk your freedom, your safety, your entire lives for someone you just met?" Tyler was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was rough with old pain. 5 years ago I was in prison, 3-year stint for aggravated assault. While I was inside, my girlfriend Jessica overdosed in a motel room. She was 26 years old. Natalie's breath caught. "Jessica had a habit," Tyler continued, staring into his coffee like he could see the past reflected in the black liquid. "Started with pills after a car accident, graduated to harder stuff. I tried to help her, Tried to get her into rehab, but the dealer who sold to her kept pulling her back in. So I put him in the hospital. Broke both his arms, 3 ribs, and his jaw. Got 3 years for it. His hands clenched into fists on the table. While I was locked up, Jessica relapsed. She was clean for 8 months, then one bad day she scored from a new dealer. The shit was cut with fentanyl. She died alone in a motel room, and I wasn't there to save her. Couldn't be there because I was behind bars paying for trying to save her the wrong way. Natalie felt tears prickling her eyes. I swore after that, Tyler said, finally looking up at her, and the pain in his eyes was devastating. I swore I'd never let another woman suffer when I had the power to stop it. So when you ran into that bathroom, when I saw the fear in your eyes and the bruises on your face, I didn't have a choice. Not really. Because letting you go with Cameron would have been the same as letting Jessica die all over again. Silence fell over the kitchen. Natalie could hear the tick of the clock on the wall, the hum of the refrigerator, the sound of her own heartbeat pounding in her ears. I'm not Jessica, she said softly. I can't be your redemption, Tyler. I know that. Tyler's voice was rough but honest. This isn't about redemption. This is about doing the right thing because it's right, not because it'll fix something broken inside me. You're not a project. You're a person who needs help, and I'm a person who can give it. Natalie believed him. Didn't know if she should, but she did. Okay, she said. I'll press charges. I'll make a formal statement. I'll do whatever Captain Williams needs me to do. Tyler nodded once. All right, I'll let her know. She's sending someone to take your statement this afternoon. Female detective named Anderson. Williams personally vouched for her. And in the meantime, Natalie heard the fear creeping into her voice. Cameron knows I ran. He knows I'm not coming back. What if he comes looking for me? He doesn't know you're here, Rosie said firmly. This place isn't registered to the club. It's owned by a shell corporation that even the cops have trouble tracking. Cameron would have to work real hard to find you, and by the time he did, we'd know he was looking. And if he does find me, Tyler's expression went hard as stone. Then he'll have to go through me and 40 of my brothers to get to you. And trust me, Natalie, he won't make it through that wall. The certainty in his voice should have scared her. This man was promising violence if necessary, promising to put himself between her and danger without hesitation. But instead of fear, Natalie felt something else, something warm and unfamiliar blooming in her chest. Safety, real safety for the first time in 8 months. Thank you, she whispered. I don't know how I'll ever... Stop, Tyler interrupted gently. You don't owe us anything. This is what we do. What we're supposed to do. Protect people who can't protect themselves. The Hells Angels protect abuse victims. Natalie couldn't keep the skepticism out of her voice. That's not exactly what the news says about you. Tyler's lips quirked. The news says a lot of things. Some of them are even true. Yeah, we're criminals. We deal in things that aren't exactly legal. We've all done time. But one thing this club doesn't tolerate is men who hurt women and kids. That's a hard line. You cross it, you're out. No second chances. And you've never crossed it? I've crossed a lot of lines in my life, but never that one. Natalie studied his face, looking for the lie. She'd gotten good at spotting liars. Cameron had trained her unintentionally by lying so often she'd learned to read the tells. But Tyler's eyes were steady, honest, unwavering. I believe you, she said. Something shifted in Tyler's expression. Relief, maybe. Or validation. Before anyone could say more, the front door of the clubhouse banged open and voices filled the hallway. Male voices, laughing and rough. Natalie's entire body went rigid. She couldn't help it. Male voices meant danger, meant pain, meant easy. Tyler's voice cut through her rising panic. Those are my brothers. They're here for church. Club meeting. Happens every Monday morning. I should go. Natalie was already pushing back from the table. I don't want to be in the way. You're not in the way, Rosie said firmly. But if you're not comfortable around a bunch of loud bikers yet, that's okay. Go rest in your room. I'll bring you up some lunch later. Natalie fled. She hated herself for it, for being so weak, so broken that the sound of male voices sent her running. But she couldn't stop her feet from carrying her up the stairs to the safety of her room. She closed the door and leaned against it, breathing hard, trying to calm her racing heart. From downstairs she could hear the rumble of conversation. Tyler's voice, deeper than the others, Rosie's occasional interjection, Laughter that didn't sound cruel or mocking, just men enjoying each other's company. Natalie slid down to the floor and pulled her knees to her chest. What was she doing here? She didn't belong with these people. She was a kindergarten teacher from Vermont who'd made the mistake of falling for a handsome cop with a charming smile and hidden demons. She wasn't some biker chick who could handle leather and tattoos and men who'd done time. But then she thought about Cameron's hands around her throat. Thought about the times he'd raped her when she said no, called it making up after a fight, told her she owed him for all he'd done for her. Thought about the isolation, the control, the constant fear that had become her entire world. And she thought about Tyler's steady eyes, Rosie's gentle hands, the safety of this strange clubhouse filled with dangerous men who'd shown her more kindness in one day than Cameron had shown her in 8 months. Natalie didn't know if she belonged here, but she knew she didn't belong with Cameron. And for now, that was enough. Detective Anderson arrived at 3 p.m. sharp, exactly as Captain Williams had promised. Tyler answered the door and found himself facing a woman in her mid-30s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense expression. She held up her badge. "Tyler Harrison, I'm Detective Michelle Anderson. Captain Williams sent me." "Come in." Tyler stepped aside. Anderson's eyes swept the clubhouse interior, taking in the leather furniture, the club photos on the walls, the faint smell of motor oil and coffee. "Nice place." "It serves its purpose." "I'll bet." Anderson's tone was dry. "Is Miss Summers ready to give her statement?" "I'll get her." Tyler climbed the stairs to Natalie's room and knocked gently. "Natalie? Detective's here." The door opened immediately. Natalie had changed into a different shirt, pulled her hair back, tried to make herself presentable. But Tyler could see the fear in her eyes. "You okay?" he asked quietly. "No, but I'm going to do this anyway." "That's brave." That's desperate," Natalie corrected. "There's a difference." "Not in my experience." He walked her downstairs, his body language protective without being possessive, staying close enough to help if she needed it, but giving her space to be strong on her own. Anderson had set up at the dining table, recording equipment and paperwork spread out in front of her. "Miss Summers." Anderson stood and offered her hand. "Thank you for talking with me today." Natalie shook it, her grip weak. "Thank you for coming. Do you want Mr. Harrison to stay while we talk, or would you prefer privacy?" Natalie looked at Tyler, uncertainty written across her face. "Your call," Tyler said. "But if you want me here, I'm here." "Stay," Natalie said immediately. "Please." Tyler took a seat in the corner of the room, far enough away to give them space, but close enough that Natalie could see him. Anderson pulled out her recorder and started the interview. What followed was 3 hours of the most difficult testimony Tyler had ever heard. Natalie recounted every bruise, every threat, every time Cameron had violated her body and called it love. She described the isolation, the financial control, the way he'd systematically destroyed every support system she had until she had nowhere to run. She described how he'd strangled her until she passed out, then held her while she came to, whispering that he was sorry, that she'd made him do it, that she needed to be better. She described being raped and called it making up, called it his right as her boyfriend, called it proof that she loved him enough to give him what he needed even when she didn't want to. Tyler sat in his corner and listened to every word, his hands clenched so tight his knuckles were white, his jaw aching from grinding his teeth. He'd known it was bad, but hearing it laid out in explicit detail, hearing the pain in Natalie's voice as she described horrors that no human being should ever endure, Tyler wanted to find Cameron Foster and beat him to death with his bare hands, but he stayed still, stayed quiet. Let Natalie tell her story without interruption, because this was her moment, her truth, her chance to be heard. By the time Anderson turned off the recorder, Natalie was crying silently, tears streaming down her face. "You did great," Anderson said gently. "I know that was hard, but this gives us everything we need to move forward." "Will it be enough?" Natalie's voice was raw. "To actually charge him?" Anderson hesitated. "I'm not going to lie to you, Miss Summers. This will be difficult. Cameron Foster has been a cop for 12 years. He's got friends, connections, resources. His lawyers will fight this hard. So it's not enough. I didn't say that." Anderson's voice turned firm. "What I'm saying is that we've got a good case. Your testimony, the bathroom footage, the EMT documentation, the prior complaints that were ignored, it's building a pattern. And Captain Williams is personally overseeing this investigation. She's putting her career on the line to make sure this is handled right. Why? Natalie looked genuinely confused. Why would she do that? Because she's one of the good ones, Tyler said quietly from his corner. And she's tired of watching men like Cameron get away with destroying women's lives. Anderson nodded. What he said. Williams has been pushing for domestic violence reforms in the department for years. This case gives her leverage to make real changes. So I'm a political tool, Natalie said bitterly. No, you're a victim who deserves justice, and Williams is going to make damn sure you get it. Anderson stood. I'll file this report tonight. Williams will reach out with next steps. In the meantime, stay safe. Stay hidden. Don't contact Cameron for any reason. Trust me, I won't. After Anderson left, Tyler found Natalie standing at the kitchen window, staring out at the sunset, her arms wrapped around herself. You okay? I don't know what I am. Her voice was hollow. I just spent 3 hours reliving the worst experiences of my life. I should feel better, right? I should feel like I'm taking my power back or something. Should you? Tyler leaned against the counter, giving her space. Seems to me you're allowed to feel however you feel. No should about it. Natalie let out a bitter laugh. Cameron would have had opinions about how I should feel. He always did. Cameron's not here. He's always here. Natalie tapped her temple. In my head, telling me I'm overreacting, that I'm making things worse, that if I just kept quiet, everything would be fine. Tyler was quiet for a moment. My therapist used to say that trauma rewires your brain, creates pathways that make you react to threats that aren't there anymore. Your brain's trying to keep you safe using old information. You go to therapy? Did. For 3 years after I got out of prison. Court mandated it first, but then I kept going even after my requirement was done. Tyler shrugged. Turns out beating the shit out of people isn't a healthy coping mechanism. Who knew? That startled a real laugh out of Natalie. I should probably talk to someone about all of this. Rosie's got a friend, Dr. Sarah Mitchell. She specializes in trauma, works with abuse survivors. She's good, and she takes clients who can't afford her regular rates. Because I definitely can't afford therapy right now, Natalie said quietly. Cameron controlled all the money. I have about $40 in my checking account and nothing else. We'll figure it out, one thing at a time. Natalie turned to look at him, really look at him, and Tyler felt something shift in his chest under the intensity of her gaze. Why are you doing all this? She asked. And don't say it's because of Jessica. Don't say it's about redemption or making up for the past. I need to know the real reason you're helping me. Tyler met her eyes. He could lie, could give her easy answers, but Natalie deserved the truth, even if he didn't fully understand it himself. I don't know, he admitted. When you burst into that bathroom, something in your eyes. I saw myself, the person I was before the club, before prison, before I learned to bury everything that made me vulnerable. I saw someone who was drowning and couldn't see the shore anymore. He took a breath. And maybe I'm helping you because no one helped me when I was drowning. Maybe I'm helping you because Cameron reminds me of every bully and abuser I've ever known, and I'm tired of watching men like that win. Or maybe I'm helping you because somewhere deep down, I still believe that people are worth saving, even when they can't save themselves. Silence fell between them. Natalie's eyes were shining with unshed tears. Thank you, she whispered, for the truth. You're welcome. They stood there in the fading light, two broken people who'd found each other in the worst possible circumstances, and Tyler felt the walls around his heart crack just a little bit more. Keep watching. Tyler and Natalie's story is about to get a lot more complicated. Cameron isn't the kind of man who accepts defeat quietly, and sometimes the most dangerous predators are the ones who wear badges. Comment below if you're still with us. I love seeing your support for Natalie's journey. Cameron Foster sat in his darkened apartment, drinking whiskey straight from the bottle, and plotted revenge. 3 days since that biker humiliated him in the bathroom. 3 days since Natalie betrayed him. 3 days since Captain Williams put him on administrative leave and took his badge and weapon. 3 days of sitting in this apartment alone, watching his career circle the drain, feeling the rage build and build and build until he could barely see straight. His phone rang. Lieutenant Morrison, his mentor and friend. Cameron, we need to talk. I'm on leave, Cameron said flatly. Nothing to talk about. The hell there isn't. Williams is building a case against you. She's got Anderson interviewing that girl. Natalie's name is Natalie. Fine. Natalie. Whatever. Point is, Williams is serious about this. You need to lawyer up. I have a lawyer. Good, because they're going for domestic violence charges, possibly sexual assault, abuse of power. This is bad, Cameron. Really bad. Cameron took another drink. It's all lies. Natalie's unstable. I have documentation. I know. I've seen your files. But Williams doesn't care. She's got a hard-on for going after cops she thinks are dirty, and you're in her crosshairs. So what do? Fight back. We've got people working on this, getting statements from colleagues saying Natalie was clearly troubled, getting medical experts to testify about her drinking problem. But Cameron, you need to stay away from her. Don't contact her. Don't go near her. Don't give Williams ammunition. I don't even know where she is. Good. Keep it that way. Let the lawyers handle this. Cameron hung up and threw his phone across the room, watching it shatter against the wall with satisfying violence. Stay away from Natalie. Let the lawyers handle it. Fuck that. Natalie was his. She didn't get to run. She didn't get to ruin his career, destroy his reputation, embarrass him in front of his brothers in blue. And that biker, Tyler Harrison. Cameron had run his background. Former Marine, 3 years in federal prison for aggravated assault, member of the Hells Angels Asheville chapter. Rap sheet a mile long. This was the man protecting Natalie? A violent criminal with gang connections? Cameron smiled into the darkness. Maybe he couldn't find Natalie right now. Maybe Williams had her stashed somewhere safe. But he could find Tyler Harrison. And if something unfortunate happened to the biker, well, men like that had a lot of enemies. Who could say which one finally decided to settle an old score? Cameron pulled out his burner phone, the one not connected to the department, and made a call. It's me. I need information on Tyler Harrison, Hells Angels. Everything you can find. Where he lives, where he works, who he associates with. And I need it quiet. No official channels. The voice on the other end chuckled. Playing dirty, detective? Just covering my bases. How fast can you get me this information? 48 hours. Make it 24. Cameron hung up and took another drink. Natalie thought she was safe. Thought some biker in leather could protect her from him. She was about to learn what happened when you betrayed Cameron Foster. He was a cop. He knew how to make things look like accidents. And Tyler Harrison's accident was going to send a very clear message to Natalie about the cost of running. Tyler's phone rang at 2 a.m. He grabbed it, instantly awake, his body trained by years of middle-of-the-night emergencies. Yeah. Harrison, it's Williams. We've got a problem. Tyler sat up, already reaching for his clothes. What kind of problem? The kind where Cameron Foster requested information on you through back channels. We've got a mole in the department who tipped me off. Foster's looking for your address, your work, your regular haunts. He's planning something. Ice water dumped through Tyler's veins. He's coming after me. That's my read on the situation. And if he gets to you, Natalie loses her protection. So what do? You watch your back. Vary your routine. Don't go anywhere alone. And for God's sake, don't give him an excuse to claim self-defense if he tries something. Captain, with respect, if Foster comes at me, I'm not going to just let him shoot me. I'm not asking you to. I'm asking you to be smart. Foster's dirty, but he's not stupid. He'll make it look legitimate. Make it look like you attacked him first. Tyler's jaw clenched. Understood. How's Natalie? Safe. Still at the clubhouse. She's been working with Dr. Mitchell, starting to process everything. Good. Keep her there. Keep her away from windows. Don't let her go anywhere without escort. Foster might try to use her to draw you out. He won't get near her. I know. But watch yourself, Harrison. Foster's got resources we can't match. He's got cop friends willing to look the other way. You need to be careful. After Williams hung up, Tyler sat in the dark for a long moment, processing. Foster was coming for him. He should have expected it. Men like Cameron didn't accept defeat. They retaliated. Tyler stood and padded downstairs to the kitchen. Rosie was already there, making coffee like she'd sensed trouble brewing. Williams called, she said. It wasn't a question. Yeah, Foster's looking for me, planning something. Rosie poured 2 cups of coffee and slid one across the counter to Tyler. We'll handle it. He comes anywhere near this club, he'll regret it. He's a cop, Rosie. We can't just what? Protect our own? Defend our home? Rosie's eyes flashed. I didn't survive 40 years in this life by rolling over for badge-wearing bullies. If we hurt a cop, then we better make damn sure there's no evidence. Rosie's voice was hard as steel. Tyler, I know you've gone straight. I know you're trying to do this the right way. But at some point, you're going to have to choose between the law and what's right. And they aren't always the same thing. Tyler knew she was right. Hated that she was right. Natalie doesn't need more violence in her life, he said quietly. She needs safety, stability, not a war between me and her ex. Then we end the war before it starts. Rosie's expression was grim. We find out what Foster's planning and we stop it. Quietly, carefully, but we stop it. How? Leave that to me. I've got connections Foster doesn't know about. We'll figure out his plan and counter it before he makes his move. Tyler wanted to argue, wanted to insist they do this by the book, but the book had failed Natalie twice already. Maybe it was time to write a new chapter. Okay, he said. Do what you need to do. But Rosie, no killing. We cross that line. We become exactly what Foster says we are. No killing, Rosie agreed. But everything short of it is on the table. Natalie couldn't sleep. She lay in her bed at the clubhouse, staring at the ceiling, listening to the old building settle around her. 3 a.m. The dead hour. The time when demons were strongest and hope seemed furthest away. She kept thinking about Cameron, about the look in his eyes in that bathroom, the promise of violence, of retribution. He wasn't going to let this go. She knew that. Cameron didn't accept defeat, didn't accept anyone telling him no. And now she'd done more than say no. She'd run. She'd testified against him. She'd humiliated him in front of his colleagues. Cameron would come for her. It was only a matter of time. A soft knock on her door made her sit bolt upright, heart pounding. Natalie, it's Tyler. You awake? She climbed out of bed and opened the door. Tyler stood in the hallway in jeans and a t-shirt, looking as exhausted as she felt. I saw your light on, he said. Figured you couldn't sleep either. Bad dreams. Yeah, I get those too. They stood there for a moment, two insomniacs finding comfort in shared wakefulness. Want some tea? Tyler asked. Rosie keeps chamomile, says it helps with the nightmares. Does it? Not really, but it tastes good and making it gives you something to do besides stare at the ceiling. Natalie followed him downstairs to the kitchen. Tyler put the kettle on and pulled out 2 mugs, moving around the space with the ease of someone who'd done this many times before. You come down here a lot at 3 a.m.? Natalie asked. More than I'd like to admit. Insomnia's been my constant companion since prison. Some nights are worse than others. The kettle whistled. Tyler poured the tea and handed Natalie a mug, their fingers brushing in the exchange. The contact sent electricity up Natalie's arm. She pulled back quickly, ashamed of her body's reaction. She shouldn't be feeling attraction. Not after everything Cameron had done. Not when she was so broken she could barely function. But Tyler's touch hadn't felt threatening, hadn't felt possessive. It had felt safe. I got a call from Captain Williams tonight, Tyler said, settling into a chair across from her. Cameron's looking for me. Planning something. Natalie's blood went cold. What kind of something? Don't know yet, but Williams thinks he might try to hurt me to get to you. No. The word burst out of Natalie with more force than she intended. No, Tyler, you can't let him. You have to get away from me. This is exactly what I was afraid of. People getting hurt because they tried to help me. Natalie, I'm serious. Cameron will kill you. He's got the badge, the connections, the resources. He'll make it look like an accident, and he'll get away with it because he always gets away with everything. Her voice was rising, panic setting in. You need to send me somewhere else, somewhere far away where he can't find me and can't use me to hurt you. Natalie, stop. Tyler's voice was firm but gentle. Take a breath. I can't breathe. Don't you understand? Everyone who helps me gets hurt. My friend Ashley tried to help me leave Cameron last year. He got her fired from her job, ruined her credit, made it impossible for her to find work. She had to move back to Colorado to live with her parents. She lost everything because she tried to help me. Tears were streaming down Natalie's face now. So, no more help. No more people sacrificing themselves for me. Just send me away. and save yourself before Cameron destroys you too. Tyler stood and crossed to her side of the table. Natalie flinched instinctively, but he didn't touch her, just knelt down so they were eye level. "Listen to me," he said quietly. "I'm not Ashley. I'm not some civilian who doesn't know how to handle dangerous men. I'm a Marine and a biker who's survived things that would break most people. Cameron doesn't scare me. He should. He scares me. I know. And that's why I'm not sending you away. Because if I do, if I let Cameron chase you out of here, then he wins. He gets to keep controlling your life. He gets to keep making you run and hide and live in fear." Tyler's eyes were intense, burning with conviction. "I won't let that happen. You don't owe me anything. This isn't about debt. This is about doing what's right. And what's right is standing between you and the man who hurt you until he can't hurt you anymore." Natalie stared at him, at this rough, tattooed, dangerous man who'd shown her more tenderness in 4 days than Cameron had shown her in 8 months. "I don't understand you," she whispered. "Why you care so much?" Tyler was quiet for a long moment. "You want the truth?" "Always. I care because looking at you feels like looking in a mirror, not the abuse. I never went through what you've been through, but the aftermath, the feeling of being broken and not knowing how to put the pieces back together, the fear that you'll never be whole again." His voice roughened. "When Jessica died, I wanted to die too. Spent a year after I got out of prison just going through the motions, not really living. Kept thinking that if I'd just been faster, smarter, better, she'd still be alive. Kept thinking I was poison, that everyone I loved ended up destroyed. Tyler. But then I found this club, these brothers, and Rosie showed me something important. She showed me that broken people can heal if they've got the right support. That you don't have to be whole to be worth saving. That sometimes the strongest thing you can do is admit you need help and let people give it." Tyler met her eyes. "So yeah, I care. I care because you're brave enough to run, to fight back, to keep trying even when everything says you should give up. I care because you deserve better than Cameron Foster, and I care because helping you helps me remember that I'm more than the worst things I've done." Natalie's hands were shaking. She set down her tea before she spilled it. "I'm not brave," she said. "I'm terrified. All the time. Even here, where I should feel safe, I'm scared. Being brave doesn't mean not being scared. It means being scared and doing it anyway." Something in Natalie's chest cracked open. The walls she'd built to survive Cameron's abuse, the armor she'd wrapped around herself to keep functioning, it all started crumbling. "I don't know how to do this," she whispered. "How to heal, how to move forward, how to be a person again instead of just a collection of survival instincts. One day at a time, 1 hour at a time, 1 moment at a time, if that's all you can manage." Tyler's voice was gentle. "And you don't do it alone. You let people help. You let Dr. Mitchell help. You let Rosie help. You let me help. What if I can't ever be normal again? What if Cameron broke something in me that can't be fixed? Then you learn to live with the broken pieces. You learn to be a different kind of normal. There's no timeline on healing, Natalie. No expiration date on your pain. You take as long as you need." Natalie felt something loosen in her chest. Permission to be broken. Permission to heal slowly. Permission to not be okay. "Thank you," she breathed. "You're welcome." They sat in companionable silence, drinking their tea as the night slowly gave way to dawn. And for the first time in 8 months, Natalie didn't feel completely alone. The story continues and the stakes are rising. Cameron is plotting, Tyler is preparing, and Natalie is starting to find her strength again. Stay with us. You won't want to miss what happens next. Drop a comment if you're rooting for these two. Your support means everything. Cameron's plan came together faster than Tyler expected. 5 days after William's warning call, Tyler walked out of the auto shop where he worked part-time and found his motorcycle vandalized. Slashed tires, scratched paint, and carved into the leather seat. A single word. Soon. Tyler photographed everything and called Williams immediately. "He's escalating," Williams said, her voice tight with concern. "This is a direct threat." "Yeah, I figured that out when I saw my bike carved up like a Thanksgiving turkey. I'm sending a patrol car to sit outside your apartment tonight. And Harrison, maybe consider staying at the clubhouse for a while. Safety in numbers." Tyler was already planning to do exactly that. He arranged for a tow, caught a ride back to the clubhouse with Thor, and found Natalie in the kitchen helping Rosie prep dinner. She looked up when he entered, and her smile faded immediately when she saw his expression. What happened? Cameron happened. Vandalized my bike outside work. Tyler kept his voice neutral, but Natalie wasn't fooled. Tyler, no. This is exactly what I was afraid of. It's a bike. Metal and leather. It can be fixed. But next time it might not be the bike. It might be you. Natalie's hands were shaking. Please, just let me go. Let me disappear somewhere he can't find me and can't use me to hurt you. Rosie set down her knife with a sharp thunk. Nobody's going anywhere. That bastard wants to play games? Fine, we'll play. But we play by our rules, not his. Rosie, Tyler started. No arguments. I've already got people working on this. Cameron Foster thinks he's untouchable because he's got a badge. He's about to learn that badges don't mean shit when you're dealing with people who've been fighting dirty since before he learned to walk. Tyler wanted to argue, wanted to insist they do this the legal way. But looking at Natalie's pale face, seeing the fear in her eyes, he knew that sometimes the legal way wasn't enough. What did you have in mind? He asked Rosie. Information warfare. Cameron's got dirt on everyone. We dig up dirt on him, find out what he's hiding, what he doesn't want exposed. Then we make it very clear that if he comes after you or Natalie again, his secrets become public knowledge. Blackmail, Tyler said flatly. Leverage, Rosie corrected. There's a difference. Not in the eyes of the law. The law hasn't exactly been Natalie's friend lately, has it? Rosie's voice was sharp. Sometimes you have to work outside the system to protect the people the system fails. Tyler looked at Natalie. What do you think? She was quiet for a long moment, her hands twisting together in her lap. I think I'm tired of being afraid, she said finally. I think I'm tired of Cameron controlling my life even when I'm not with him. I think if Rosie's plan can make him back off without anyone getting hurt, then maybe it's worth trying. Her voice strengthened. But I don't want anyone breaking the law for me. I don't want anyone going to prison because they were trying to protect me. If we do this, we do it smart. We do it careful. And we make sure there's no trail back to us. Rosie grinned. That's my girl. Finally showing some spine. I've always had spine, Natalie said quietly. Cameron just spent 8 months trying to break it. But broken doesn't mean destroyed. Tyler felt something warm bloom in his chest. This was the first time he'd heard Natalie push back, assert herself, claim agency over her own protection. She was healing. Slowly, painfully, but healing nonetheless. Okay, he said. We do this Rosie's way, but carefully. And the second it looks like someone might get hurt or arrested, we pull back. Agreed? Agreed, Rosie said. Agreed, Natalie echoed. Tyler just hoped they weren't making a terrible mistake. Rosie's information warfare turned out to be more sophisticated than Tyler expected. She had connections he'd never known about. A hacker named Ghost who owed her a favor from 15 years back, a private investigator called Red, who specialized in digging up dirt on dirty cops, and a lawyer named Miranda Chen who'd been fighting police corruption cases for 20 years. Within 48 hours, they had a file on Cameron Foster that would make any defense attorney salivate. Excessive force complaints that had been buried, a pattern of dating women who later reported abuse, all of them pressured into dropping charges. Financial irregularities suggesting he was taking bribes from local drug dealers in exchange for looking the other way. And most damning, evidence that Cameron had planted evidence on suspects to secure convictions. Jesus Christ, Tyler breathed, reading through the file in Rosie's office. This guy's dirtier than I thought. Most dirty cops are, Miranda Chen said. She was in her 50s, sharp as a blade, with steel gray hair and eyes that had seen too much injustice. The system protects them because good cops don't want to believe their brothers are capable of this level of corruption. So the abuse continues, victims stay silent, and men like Foster keep their badges. Until now, Rosie said with grim satisfaction. We leaked this to the right people, journalists, internal affairs, maybe a few city council members who actually give a shit about police reform, and Foster's career is over. But we need leverage first, Tyler said. If we just dump this publicly, Foster's got nothing to lose. He might come after Natalie harder. Exactly. Miranda pulled out her phone. So here's what we do. I contact Foster's lawyer with a proposition. We have evidence of corruption. We're willing to keep it quiet in exchange for Foster leaving Natalie alone permanently. No contact, no harassment, no retaliation. He stays away. We stay quiet. He makes one move toward her. Everything goes public. Will he go for it? Natalie asked. She'd been sitting silently in the corner, listening to them plan her protection. If he's smart, yes. His career means everything to him. Losing the badge, the power, the authority, that's worse than death for men like Foster. Miranda's smile was sharp. We're not just threatening his job. We're threatening his identity. And if he's not smart, Tyler asked, then we burn him to the ground and deal with the consequences. The plan was set in motion that afternoon. Miranda contacted Cameron's lawyer, a sleazy defense attorney named Richard Marks, who'd made his career defending dirty cops. The conversation was brief and to the point. My client has evidence of Detective Foster's corruption, multiple counts of evidence tampering, bribery, and abuse of power. We're prepared to keep this information private in exchange for a signed agreement that Detective Foster will cease all contact with Natalie Summers. No harassment, no stalking, no retaliation of any kind. He violates the agreement, the evidence goes public. There was silence on the other end of the line. I'll need to see this evidence before I can advise my client, Marks said finally. You'll see a summary, enough to verify we're serious, but the full documentation stays secure until we have Foster's signature on the agreement. Another long pause. I'll be in touch. The call ended. Tyler looked at Miranda. Think he'll bite? Oh, he'll bite. The question is whether Cameron will listen to him. They got their answer 3 hours later. Marks called back with a counteroffer. Foster would leave Natalie alone, but he wanted assurances that the evidence would be destroyed, not just kept quiet. No deal, Miranda said flatly. The evidence is our insurance policy. It gets destroyed. Foster has no reason to honor his agreement. The information stays secure but accessible. He behaves himself. It never sees the light of day. He doesn't. We release everything. My client doesn't trust that arrangement. Your client doesn't have a choice. Either he takes the deal, or I start making calls to the Seattle Times, the FBI, and every news outlet in Washington state. His decision. Marks hung up without another word. He's stalling, Miranda said. Trying to figure out if we're bluffing. We're not bluffing, Rosie said. No, but Foster doesn't know that yet. The waiting was agony. Tyler watched Natalie retreat further into herself with each passing hour, her shoulders hunching, her eyes going distant. That evening, he found her in the clubhouse library, a small room lined with donated books that no one really used except Natalie, who'd discovered a love of reading during her recovery. She sat curled in an armchair, a book open in her lap, but her eyes were fixed on the window watching darkness fall. You okay? Tyler asked from the doorway. No, but I'm not sure I remember what okay feels like anymore, so maybe this is as good as it gets. Tyler crossed the room and settled into the chair across from her. What are you reading? Natalie glanced down at the book like she'd forgotten it was there. Poetry. Mary Oliver, Dr. Mitchell recommended it. Said sometimes poetry helps when regular words don't. Is it helping? I don't know. Maybe. Natalie closed the book. There's this one poem about wild geese, about how you don't have to be good. You don't have to walk on your knees for 100 miles repenting. You just have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Her voice cracked. I spent 8 months trying to be good enough for Cameron, trying to be perfect so he wouldn't get angry, trying to anticipate his moods, his needs, his desires, and it was never enough. I was never enough. That's not true. It is true. But maybe that's okay. Natalie looked up at Tyler, her eyes bright with unshed tears. Maybe I don't have to be enough for him. Maybe I just have to be enough for me. Tyler felt his throat tighten. Yeah, that's exactly right. Dr. Mitchell says I'm showing signs of complex PTSD, that the abuse went on long enough to change how my brain processes threat and safety. She says it'll take years to fully recover. Years isn't forever. No, but it's a long time to be broken. You're not broken, Natalie. You're healing. There's a difference. Natalie set her book aside and stood, walking to the window. Tyler watched her, this small, fierce woman who'd survived horrors that would have destroyed weaker people. Can I ask you something? Natalie said without turning around. Anything. When Jessica died, how long did it take before you stopped blaming yourself? Tyler was quiet for a long moment. I haven't. Natalie turned to look at him. You still blame yourself? After 5 years? Every single day. I know logically that her addiction wasn't my fault. I know I couldn't have saved her, but knowing something and believing it are different things. So the guilt never goes away? It gets quieter, less sharp, but it's always there. Tyler met her eyes. Is that what you wanted to hear? No, but it's what I needed to hear. Natalie wrapped her arms around herself. Because I keep thinking that if I'd just been smarter, if I'd left sooner, if I'd fought back harder, maybe none of this would have happened. Maybe I wouldn't have lost 8 months of my life. Maybe Ashley wouldn't have lost her job. Maybe you wouldn't have your bike vandalized. Natalie, listen to me. Tyler stood and crossed to her. Nothing that happened to you is your fault. Not one single thing. Cameron made choices. Terrible, abusive choices. You were just trying to survive them. I should have left the first time he hit me. Maybe, but abusers don't make it that simple, do they? They apologize, they cry, they promise it'll never happen again. They make you feel like you're the crazy one for wanting to leave. They isolate you from everyone who might help you escape. Tyler's voice roughened. You survived, Natalie. That's what matters. You survived and you got out, and now you're fighting back. That takes more courage than most people have in their entire lifetime. Natalie's eyes filled with tears. I don't feel courageous. I feel scared and broken and so damn tired. I know, but you're still here, still fighting. That's courage. The tears spilled over. Natalie tried to wipe them away, but they kept coming. 8 months of pain and fear and suppressed emotion finally breaking free. Tyler did something he'd been careful not to do before. He stepped closer and opened his arms, offering comfort but not forcing it, letting Natalie choose whether to accept. For a moment, she didn't move, just stood there crying, wrapped in her own arms. Then slowly, she stepped into Tyler's embrace. He held her carefully like she was made of glass that might shatter if he squeezed too hard. Natalie buried her face in his chest and sobbed, deep, wrenching cries that shook her entire body. Tyler just held her. Didn't tell her to stop crying or that everything would be okay, just gave her a safe place to break down. When the tears finally subsided, Natalie pulled back slightly, not leaving his arms but creating enough space to look up at him. Thank you, she whispered, for not trying to fix it, for just letting me cry. Nothing to thank me for. There is. Cameron used to get so angry when I cried. Said I was being manipulative, trying to make him feel guilty. I learned to cry silently in the bathroom so he wouldn't hear. Tyler's jaw clenched. I'm not Cameron. I know. That's why I felt safe enough to cry. They stood there for a long moment, Natalie still in Tyler's arms, both of them breathing in sync. Tyler knew he should step back, should maintain professional distance, should remember that Natalie was vulnerable and traumatized and in no position to be making decisions about relationships. But looking down at her upturned face, seeing the trust in her eyes, feeling the warmth of her body against his, Tyler wanted to kiss her more than he'd wanted anything in 5 years. Instead, he stepped back, breaking the embrace gently. You should get some rest, he said, his voice rougher than intended. It's been a long day. Natalie looked disappointed for just a second before her expression smoothed into neutrality. Yeah, you're right. She started to leave, then paused at the door. Tyler? Yeah? When this is over, when Cameron's handled and I'm safe and I've had time to heal, can we talk about this? She gestured between them. About whatever this is? Tyler's heart hammered against his ribs. Yeah, we can talk. Natalie smiled, a real smile that lit up her entire face. Good, that's good. She left. Tyler stood alone in the library, his heart racing, his mind spinning. He was falling for her. Against every piece of common sense and self-preservation instinct he'd developed over 5 decades of hard living, Tyler Harrison was falling for Natalie Summers. And he had no idea if that was the best decision he'd ever made or the biggest mistake of his life. Cameron's lawyer called back the next morning with his client's answer. Detective Foster rejects your proposal. Miranda's expression didn't change, but Tyler saw her hand tighten on the phone. On what grounds? My client maintains that he has done nothing wrong. The allegations are false, fabricated by a disturbed ex-girlfriend with a history of instability. He will not be extorted. This isn't extortion. This is consequence. And your client's counter-narrative doesn't hold water when we've got documented evidence of his corruption. Alleged evidence, which, I might add, was likely obtained through illegal means. Hacking, invasion of privacy. If you go public with this information, my client will sue for defamation and pursue criminal charges against everyone involved. Miranda smiled coldly. Tell your client to bring it, because the moment he files suit, everything becomes subject to discovery, and I guarantee the evidence will hold up in court, which means your client's career ends either way. At least with our deal, he gets to walk away quietly. My client prefers to fight. Then he's an idiot, but that's his choice. Tell Detective Foster that he has 48 hours to reconsider. After that, I start making calls. The Seattle Times has a very aggressive investigative team that would love to dig into police corruption. She hung up. Tyler, Rosie, and Natalie sat in Rosie's office processing this new development. He's calling our bluff, Rosie said. Except we're not bluffing, Miranda corrected, which means Foster's either genuinely innocent, which we know he isn't, or he thinks he can bury this evidence and intimidate everyone into silence. So, what do? Natalie asked. Her voice was steady, but Tyler could see the fear in her eyes. We follow through. I make the calls. The information goes public, and we brace for the fallout. Which will be significant, Tyler said. Foster's got friends, powerful friends. They'll come after all of us. Let them try. Rosie's voice was hard. This club's been dealing with dirty cops for 40 years. We know how to protect our own. It's not the club I'm worried about. Tyler looked at Natalie. If we go public, Foster's going to go nuclear. He'll destroy Natalie's reputation, paint her as an unstable liar, make her life hell. He's already making my life hell, Natalie said quietly. At least this way I'm fighting back. At least this way he doesn't win. You sure about this? Once we pull this trigger, there's no going back. Natalie met his eyes, and Tyler saw steel in her gaze that hadn't been there a week ago. I'm sure. I'm tired of running, tired of hiding, tired of letting Cameron control my life even from a distance. If going public means he faces consequences for once, then that's what we do. Miranda nodded approvingly. All right, I'll start making calls this afternoon. By tomorrow morning, every news outlet in Seattle will have the full story. And Captain Williams? Tyler asked. I'll brief her first. Give her advance warning so she can prepare. She'll want to move quickly on internal investigation once this goes public. Do it, Tyler said. Let's end this. The story broke at 6 p.m. on a Tuesday evening. The Seattle Times led with it. Decorated detective faces corruption allegations, pattern of abuse. Other outlets picked it up within the hour. Local news stations, radio shows, online publications. By midnight, it had gone national. CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, all running segments on police corruption and domestic violence. Cameron Foster's name was trending on Twitter, and Tyler's phone wouldn't stop ringing. Captain Williams called first. Harrison, I hope you know what you've just started. Yeah, I've got a pretty good idea. Foster's attorney is threatening to sue everyone involved. The department's in full crisis mode, and I've got orders from on high to investigate you for illegal information gathering. Tyler's stomach dropped. Captain, relax. I'm going to investigate by making it very clear that I found no evidence of wrongdoing. But Harrison, you need to be prepared for retaliation. Foster's got friends who won't take this lying down. I know, we're ready. Are you? Because from where I'm sitting, you've just painted a target on your back the size of Montana. Better me than Natalie. Williams was quiet for a moment. You care about her. It wasn't a question, but Tyler answered anyway. Yeah, I do. Then keep her safe, because this is about to get ugly. The second call came from a number Tyler didn't recognize. He almost didn't answer, but something made him pick up. Hello? You're dead. Cameron's voice, distorted and cold. Do you hear me? You're fucking dead. You and that bitch both. Tyler's blood ran cold. Is that a threat, detective? It's a promise. You think going public protects you? You think ruining my career makes you safe? Cameron's laugh was vicious. I've got nothing to lose now, which means I can do whatever I want, and what I want is to watch you bleed. Come anywhere near me or Natalie, and what? You'll call the cops? I am the cops. My brothers are the cops. You think Williams can protect you? You're dead, Harrison. Both of you. The line went dead. Tyler immediately called Williams back and reported the threat. She promised to trace the call, but they both knew it wouldn't help. Cameron was smart enough to use a burner phone. Tyler found Natalie in her room, sitting on the bed with her laptop, reading the news coverage. "He called me," Tyler said without preamble. "Made threats. Against both of us." Natalie's face went pale, but she didn't look surprised. "Of course he did. Cameron doesn't accept defeat. He'll come after us." "Not if I can stop him." "How? He's got nothing to lose now. You said it yourself. Men with nothing to lose are the most dangerous." Tyler couldn't argue with that. "We increase security," he said instead. "Nobody goes anywhere alone. We vary routines. We assume Cameron's watching and plan accordingly. For how long? How long do we live like prisoners because Cameron can't accept consequences? For as long as it takes." Natalie stood and crossed to the window, staring out at the darkened compound. "This is my fault. If I hadn't testified, if I'd just stayed quiet." "Don't." Tyler's voice was sharp. "Don't you dare blame yourself for his choices. Cameron did this. Cameron's corruption. Cameron's abuse. Cameron's threats. None of this is on you." "It feels like it is." "I know. But feelings aren't facts." Natalie turned to look at him, and Tyler saw exhaustion etched into every line of her face. "I'm so tired, Tyler. Tired of being scared. Tired of fighting. Tired of everything." Tyler crossed the room and took her hands gently. "I know, but you can't give up now. We're close to the end." "Are we? Because from where I'm standing, this feels like it's just beginning. Cameron's career is over. Even if he beats the criminal charges, the court of public opinion has already convicted him. He'll never be a cop again. Good. He shouldn't be. So that's a win. We focus on that. We focus on the fact that you stood up to him and told your truth, and now the whole world knows what kind of man he really is." Natalie's eyes filled with tears. "The whole world also knows what happened to me. Every humiliating detail. Every time he hit me, raped me, degraded me. It's all out there now. Forever. Yeah, it is. And I'm sorry for that. But Natalie, your story is also giving other survivors courage to come forward. Look." Tyler pulled out his phone and showed her the social media posts flooding in. Women sharing their own stories of abuse, thanking Natalie for her bravery, saying her testimony gave them hope. "You're not just surviving anymore," Tyler said softly. "You're helping others survive too." Natalie read the posts with trembling hands, tears streaming down her face. "I didn't think about that," she whispered. "I was so focused on my own fear. I didn't think about how my story might help someone else. That's impact. That's meaning. That's taking your pain and transforming it into something that matters." Natalie looked up at him, and Tyler saw something shift in her expression. Determination replacing despair. "You're right. Cameron took so much from me. But he didn't take everything. And I'm not going to let him take this too. That's my girl." The words slipped out before Tyler could stop them. Natalie's eyes widened. "Your girl?" Tyler felt heat creep up his neck. "I didn't mean, that is, I wasn't trying to." Natalie stepped closer, cutting off his fumbling explanation. "I want to be. Your girl, I mean. When this is over. When I've had time to heal and figure out who I am without Cameron's voice in my head. I want to see where this goes." Tyler's heart hammered against his ribs. "Natalie, you're vulnerable right now. You're trauma bonded to me because I helped you. That's not the same as actual feelings." "Don't tell me what I'm feeling." Natalie's voice was firm. "I know the difference between gratitude and attraction. I know the difference between dependency and genuine connection. And what I feel when I look at you isn't just relief that someone saved me. It's something more. You can't know that, not yet. Not while you're still healing. Maybe not, but I want the chance to find out. That's all I'm asking for. A chance." Tyler looked down at this fierce, brave, beautiful woman who'd survived hell and was still standing, who'd found the courage to fight back, who'd transformed her pain into purpose. He wanted to say yes, wanted to pull her into his arms and promise her everything. But he'd made that mistake before with Jessica, had confused saving someone with loving them, had let his need to fix broken things blind him to the reality that some people needed professional help, not romantic rescue. "Okay," he said carefully. "When this is over, when you've had time and space and therapy to process everything, when you're standing on solid ground instead of quicksand, then we talk about this, really talk about it, and see where it goes." Natalie smiled, a real smile that lit up her entire face. "That's all I wanted to hear, that you're not closing the door. Never. But I'm also not rushing through it before you're ready. Deal. They stood there for a moment, the air between them charged with possibility and promise. Then Natalie did something that took Tyler completely by surprise. She stood on her toes and kissed his cheek, soft and quick and sweet. "Thank you," she whispered, "for everything." Before Tyler could respond, she pulled back and returned to her laptop, leaving him standing in the middle of her room with his heart racing and his mind spinning. He was in so much trouble. Cameron's retaliation came 3 days later. Tyler was leaving the clubhouse to run errands when a black SUV pulled up, blocking his exit. 4 men climbed out. Not cops, but the kind of muscle you hired when you wanted something illegal done without police involvement. Tyler assessed the situation in seconds. 4 against 1, all of them armed, judging by the bulges under their jackets. Professional, not street thugs. Cameron had hired contractors. Tyler Harrison? The lead man, mid-40s with dead eyes and a scar across his jaw, stepped forward. "Someone wants to have a conversation with you." "Tell Cameron I'm not interested." Wasn't a request. Tyler's hand moved to the knife at his belt. Not a gun. He wasn't stupid enough to carry when he knew cops might be watching, but a wicked 7-inch blade that had gotten him out of trouble more than once. "You pull that knife, this ends badly for you," Scar said. "We're just here to deliver a message. You come quiet, nobody gets hurt. You fight, well," he shrugged. "My employer said whatever it takes." Tyler calculated odds. 4 armed men. He might take one down, maybe 2 if he was fast enough, but not all 4. And back at the clubhouse, Natalie was reading in the library, completely unaware of the danger. If Tyler fought and lost, these men might go after her next. "What's the message?" Tyler asked, his hand still on the knife. "Not here. Get in the SUV." "No." Scar sighed. "Wrong answer." He pulled his weapon, a Glock, professional grade. The other 3 followed suit. Tyler's mind raced. If he got in that SUV, he'd likely end up dead in a ditch somewhere. Cameron wanted him gone, and hired guns were the perfect solution. Untraceable, deniable, effective. But if he fought, he'd definitely die right here. And Natalie would be unprotected. Before Tyler could make a decision, the clubhouse door burst open and brothers poured out. Thor, Bones, Widow, and 10 others, all armed, all looking ready for war. "Problem here, Reaper?" Thor called out, his hand resting casually on the gun at his hip. Scar looked at Tyler's backup, did the math, and lowered his weapon slightly. "This doesn't concern you." "Everything concerning our brother concerns us," Thor said flatly. "So either state your business or leave. You got 30 seconds. Scar hesitated, clearly weighing options. Finally, he reached into his jacket, slowly, carefully, and pulled out an envelope. "Message from our employer. Read it. Think about it. We'll be in touch." He tossed the envelope at Tyler's feet, then climbed back into the SUV with his men. They drove away, leaving Tyler standing in the driveway with an envelope and a racing heart. Thor approached. "You okay, brother?" "Yeah. They were just delivering a message." "With 4 guns. Must be one hell of a message." Tyler picked up the envelope and opened it. Inside was a single sheet of paper with typed text. "You destroyed my career. Now I'm going to destroy everything you love. Starting with Natalie. She thinks she's safe with you? She's not. I can reach her anytime I want, and when I do, you'll watch her suffer. Then you'll die knowing you failed to protect her. Just like you failed to protect Jessica. This is your only warning. Leave Seattle. Take your biker trash with you. Or everyone you care about dies. You have 48 hours. Tyler's hands shook with rage. He handed the letter to Thor, who read it and swore viciously. "This is a direct threat. We need to call Williams." "Already on it." Tyler pulled out his phone. Williams answered on the first ring. "Harrison. Cameron just sent contractors to threaten me. 4 armed men. They delivered a letter threatening to kill Natalie." "Where are you?" "Clubhouse." "Stay there. I'm sending units now. And Harrison, do not engage if they come back. That's exactly what Foster wants. You to attack his people so he can claim self-defense." "Understood." 2 patrol cars arrived within 15 minutes. The officers took Tyler's statement, photographed the letter, and promised increased patrols around the clubhouse. But Tyler knew it wouldn't be enough. Cameron had hired professionals, men who knew how to avoid police. who knew how to strike fast and disappear before anyone could stop them. Natalie was sitting in the library when Tyler found her, completely unaware of what had just happened. He hated to shatter her peace, but she needed to know. "We need to talk." Natalie looked up from her book, saw his expression, and her face went pale. "What happened?" Tyler told her everything. The contractors, the letter, Cameron's threats. By the time he finished, Natalie was shaking. "He's going to kill us, both of us. Not if we're smart, not if we prepare." "How do you prepare for hired killers? Tyler, these aren't street thugs. These are professionals. Cameron's using his dirty money to hire people who kill for a living." "I know. Which is why we're not staying here." Natalie's eyes widened. "What?" "We leave Seattle. Go somewhere Cameron can't find us. Somewhere safe." "You mean run. You want us to run. I want us to survive." Tyler knelt down in front of her chair. "Natalie, Cameron's got nothing to lose. He's hiring contractors because he knows the law can't touch him directly. If we stay here, he'll keep coming. Eventually, he'll get through." "So we just give up? Let him win?" "This isn't about winning. This is about living. We leave, we regroup, we come back when it's safe." "It'll never be safe. Not while Cameron's alive." The words hung in the air between them, heavy with implication. Tyler knew what Natalie was thinking. He'd thought it himself a dozen times since this started. The world would be better off without Cameron Foster in it. "We're not doing that," Tyler said firmly. "We're not killers. You've killed before. You said so yourself. In combat. In war. Not in cold blood. That line exists for a reason, Natalie. We cross it. We become what Cameron says we are." Natalie's eyes filled with tears. "Then what do? Just keep running forever?" "No, we let the law work. Williams is building a case. The public outcry is forcing the department to take action. Cameron will face consequences. Not soon enough, maybe not, but we survive until he does. That's the plan." Natalie was quiet for a long moment, tears streaming silently down her face. "I'm so tired of surviving," she whispered. "I want to live. Actually live. Not just exist in constant fear." Tyler took her hands gently. "I know, but sometimes surviving is all we can do. And we do it together. You and me. I'm not going to let Cameron hurt you. I swear it." "You can't promise that." "I can promise I'll die trying to stop him." Natalie pulled her hands free and stood abruptly. "That's not comforting, Tyler. That's terrifying. I don't want you to die for me. I want both of us to live. Then trust me. Trust the plan. We leave Seattle tomorrow. Rosie's got a place in Montana, a cabin in the middle of nowhere. We stay there until Williams arrests Cameron or until he makes a mistake that puts him away for good." "And if neither of those things happen?" Tyler didn't have an answer for that. They left for Montana the next morning. Tyler packed light, clothes, weapons, supplies for a long stay off-grid. Natalie packed even lighter, since most of what she owned had been left behind at Cameron's apartment. Rosie made them breakfast before they left, hugging Natalie so tight Tyler thought she might crack ribs. "You stay safe, baby. And if that bastard comes anywhere near you, Tyler knows what to do." "I'm not killing anyone, Rosie," Tyler said firmly. "Didn't say kill, said protect. There's options between the two." Thor and Bones rode escort for the first 100 miles, making sure no one followed them out of Seattle. When they peeled off at the state line, Thor pulled Tyler aside. "Brother, you need anything at all, you call. We'll come running." "I know, thanks. And Reaper, don't do anything stupid. That girl needs you alive, not martyred." Tyler just nodded because he wasn't sure he could make that promise. The drive to Montana took 18 hours with stops. Tyler and Natalie barely spoke, both lost in their own thoughts. The cabin appeared just as the sun was setting, a small structure tucked into dense forest, miles from the nearest town. Solar panels on the roof, a well for water, wood stove for heat, completely off-grid, completely safe. Tyler carried their bags inside while Natalie explored the small space. 2 bedrooms, a combined kitchen and living area, a bathroom with a composting toilet and basin shower. "It's nice," Natalie said quietly. "Peaceful. It's isolated, which is the point." "How long are we staying?" "As long as it takes." Natalie nodded and turned away. but not before Tyler saw the tears in her eyes. That night, Tyler lay in his bed listening to Natalie cry in the next room. Soft, muffled sobs that broke his heart. He wanted to go to her, wanted to hold her and promise her everything would be okay. But he stayed where he was, because comfort wasn't what Natalie needed right now. She needed space to grieve, to rage, to process the fact that Cameron had stolen so much from her. Not just 8 months of abuse, but now her home, her city, her sense of safety. Tyler had failed her, failed to protect her from this, failed to stop Cameron before it got this bad. The familiar guilt wrapped around his chest like barbed wire. Jessica's face floated through his mind. Then Natalie's. 2 women he'd tried to save. 2 women who'd suffered because he hadn't been fast enough, smart enough, strong enough. Tyler closed his eyes and tried to sleep, but the ghosts were louder than usual tonight. The story is building to its climax. Tyler and Natalie are hidden away, but Cameron's obsession is growing more dangerous by the day. And in Montana, isolated from their support system, they'll have to face not just Cameron's threats, but the feelings growing between them. Stay with us. The final act is coming, and it's going to test everyone's courage, strength, and belief in second chances. Comment if you're still here. Your support keeps this story going. They'd been in Montana for 6 days when Captain Williams called with news. "Harrison, we've arrested Cameron Foster." Tyler's heart leaped. For what? Corruption charges, evidence tampering, bribery, obstruction of justice, and we're adding the death threats against you and Miss Summers. He's being held without bail. You're sure he can't get out? The judge denied bail based on flight risk and danger to victims. Foster's not going anywhere. Tyler felt something loosen in his chest. What's the timeline? Trial's set for 6 months from now. Prosecution's building an airtight case. Between the evidence you provided and testimony from other victims who've come forward, Cameron Foster is going to prison for a very long time. Other victims? 4 women. They saw Natalie's story and found the courage to report their own abuse. Cameron's pattern goes back 12 years. We've got him, Harrison. He's done. Tyler exhaled slowly. Thank you, Captain. Thank Miss Summers. She's the one who started this. Her courage gave others courage. After the call ended, Tyler found Natalie sitting on the cabin's porch, watching the sunset paint the Montana sky in shades of gold and crimson. That was Williams. Natalie looked up, hope and fear warring in her eyes. And? Cameron's been arrested. He's in jail awaiting trial. No bail. For a moment, Natalie just stared at him. Then her face crumpled and she started crying. Not sad tears, but relief. Pure, overwhelming relief. Tyler sat beside her and let her cry, his arm around her shoulders, holding her while she processed 6 months of terror finally coming to an end. It's really over? She asked when she could speak. The immediate danger is over. The trial still has to happen, but Cameron's locked up. He can't hurt you anymore. Natalie leaned her head on Tyler's shoulder. I can't believe it. I spent so long thinking he was untouchable, that nothing would ever stop him. You stopped him, by being brave enough to run, brave enough to testify, brave enough to fight back when every instinct told you to hide. I had help. Natalie looked up at him, her eyes red but clear. I had you. Tyler's throat tightened. You would have found a way with or without me. You're stronger than you know. Maybe, but I'm glad I didn't have to find out. They sat in comfortable silence as the sun disappeared below the horizon, painting the world in shades of twilight. What happens now? Natalie asked eventually. Do we go back to Seattle? That's up to you. Williams says it's safe. Cameron's locked up and his hired contractors scattered when the arrests started. But if you want to stay here longer, we can. Natalie was quiet for a long moment. I think I want to go back. Face my life instead of hiding from it. Start rebuilding. Okay, we'll head back tomorrow. Tyler. Yeah? What you said before, about waiting until I was healed before we talked about us. Are we still doing that? Tyler's heart rate kicked up. You still want to have that conversation? More than ever. Because being here with you, away from everything, has shown me something important. Natalie turned to face him fully. What I feel for you isn't trauma bonding. It's not dependency or gratitude. It's real. Natalie. Let me finish, please. She took a breath. I know I'm still healing. I know I've got months, maybe years of therapy ahead of me. I know I'm broken in ways that might never fully fix. But Tyler, you make me want to try. You make me believe that I can be whole again. That I deserve to be loved the way I should have been loved all along. Tyler felt something crack open in his chest. You do deserve that. And I want to be the one who... He stopped himself. But you need time, professional help, space to figure out who you are without Cameron's voice in your head. I know. And I'm going to do all of that. But I also want you to know that when I'm ready, when I'm standing on solid ground, I'm going to come find you. And I'm going to ask you for real if you feel the same way. And if I say yes? Natalie smiled. Then we see where this goes. One day at a time. No rushing, no pressure, just two broken people figuring out how to be whole together. Tyler looked at this incredible woman who'd survived hell and come out fighting, who'd shown more courage in 6 months than most people showed in a lifetime, who made him believe, for the first time since Jessica, that maybe he deserved a second chance at happiness. Okay, he said softly. But Natalie, you need to know something. What? I already feel the same way. Have since the day I met you. So when you come find me, when you're ready, the answer's going to be yes. Natalie's smile could have lit up the entire Montana sky. She leaned in slowly, giving Tyler time to pull away if he wanted. But he didn't want to, not even a little. Their lips met softly, tentatively, a promise of things to come when the time was right. When they pulled apart, Tyler rested his forehead against Natalie's. We're going to take this slow, he said. Do it right. No rushing. No rushing, Natalie agreed. But Tyler, yeah. Slow doesn't mean we can't kiss sometimes, right? Tyler laughed, the sound rusty from months of stress and fear. Right. Slow definitely still includes kissing. They sat on that porch until the stars came out, talking about the future for the first time instead of just surviving the present. And Tyler felt hope bloom in his chest, fragile and new, but real. 6 months later, Cameron Foster was convicted on all counts and sentenced to 25 years in federal prison. Tyler and Natalie sat in the courtroom gallery, holding hands, watching justice finally prevail. When the verdict was read, Natalie didn't cry, just squeezed Tyler's hand tighter and whispered, "It's over. It's really over." Outside the courthouse, the 4 other women who'd testified against Cameron gathered around Natalie, creating an impromptu support group of survivors who'd taken back their power. Captain Williams approached Tyler while Natalie talked with the other women. "You did good work, Harrison." "I didn't do anything. Natalie did the hard part." "You gave her a safe place to heal. That matters more than you know." Williams paused. "There's something you should know. Foster's attorney is filing an appeal, but it won't go anywhere. The evidence is too solid. Cameron Foster will die in prison." "Good." Williams studied him for a moment. "You and Miss Summers. That's actually happening." "Slowly, carefully, but yeah, we're trying." "She's lucky to have you." "I'm the lucky one." Williams smiled. "Maybe you're both lucky. Ever think of that?" She walked away, leaving Tyler with that thought. Maybe they were both lucky. 2 broken people who'd found each other in the worst circumstances and decided to try building something beautiful from the wreckage. Natalie appeared at his side, her hand slipping into his. "Ready to go home?" she asked. "Yeah, let's go home." They walked out of the courthouse together, into the Seattle sunshine, and Tyler felt lighter than he had in years. 1 year later, Tyler stood in the doorway of his apartment, their apartment now, watching Natalie laugh with Rosie over coffee at the kitchen table. In the past year, Natalie had transformed. She'd gone back to teaching, starting slowly with substitute work before accepting a full-time position at a local elementary school. She'd continued therapy with Dr. Mitchell, working through the trauma piece by piece. She'd reconnected with her parents in Vermont, slowly rebuilding bridges that Cameron had burned. And she'd healed. Not completely. Trauma didn't work that way. But enough to reclaim her life, her joy, her sense of self. Tyler had healed too. With Natalie's help, he'd finally forgiven himself for Jessica. Had learned that loving someone didn't mean saving them from themselves, that he could care about someone without it being about redemption. They'd taken it slow, just like they'd promised. Started dating officially 6 months after Cameron's conviction. Moved in together 3 months after that. It wasn't always easy. Natalie still had nightmares sometimes. Tyler still struggled with guilt, but they worked through it together, with patience and honesty and the kind of love that comes from truly seeing each other's darkest parts and choosing to stay anyway. "What are you thinking about?" Natalie's voice pulled him from his thoughts. She'd crossed the room without him noticing, slipping her arms around his waist. "How lucky I am." Corny. But Natalie was smiling. True, though. She stood on her toes and kissed him, soft and sweet and full of promise. "I love you," she whispered against his lips. Tyler's heart swelled. They'd been saying it for months, but it never got old. "I love you too, so damn much." Rosie cleared her throat from the kitchen. "You two done being disgustingly cute? Because I got places to be." They laughed and pulled apart, but Tyler kept his arm around Natalie's waist. Later that night, after Rosie left and they'd cleaned up dinner, Tyler and Natalie sat on their small balcony watching the Seattle skyline light up against the darkening sky. "Can I ask you something?" Natalie said. "Anything." "Do you ever regret it? That day in the bathroom? Taking a chance on a stranger who ran into the wrong restroom?" Tyler thought about it. About how much easier his life would be if he'd just walked away. About how he wouldn't have had to deal with death threats, hired killers, or the constant fear that he'd fail to protect her. But he also thought about Natalie's laugh, about the way she looked at him like he hung the moon, about the life they were building together, messy and imperfect and more beautiful than anything he'd ever dared to hope for. "Not for a second," he said. "Best decision I ever made." Natalie smiled and leaned her head on his shoulder. "Mine too." They sat there as the city sparkled below them. Two survivors who'd found their way to each other through darkness and decided to build their future in the light. And Tyler thought about that day in Pete's Roadhouse bathroom. About a terrified woman bursting through the door asking a dangerous stranger for help. About how one moment of courage had changed both their lives forever. About how sometimes the most important battles weren't the ones you fought with your fists, but the ones you fought with your heart. About how love, real love, was worth fighting for, worth surviving for, worth healing for. Tyler pulled Natalie closer and pressed a kiss to her temple. "Hey," he said softly. "Hey," she echoed, smiling. They didn't need more words than that. They had each other. They had safety. They had hope. And for two people who'd spent so long believing they'd never have any of those things, that was everything. Epilogue. 3 years later. The wedding was small. Just family and close friends gathered at the clubhouse that had become Natalie's second home. Rosie cried through the entire ceremony. Captain Williams, who'd become a friend over the years, served as witness. Thor stood as Tyler's best man, looking uncomfortable in a suit but smiling wider than anyone had seen in years. Natalie wore a simple white dress, her honey blonde hair loose around her shoulders. She looked radiant, happy, whole. When Tyler slipped the ring on her finger, his hands were shaking. "I never thought I'd get this," he whispered. "Never thought I deserved it." "You deserve everything," Natalie whispered back. "And I'm going to spend the rest of my life proving it to you." They kissed to thunderous applause from their assembled family. Later, during the reception, Natalie pulled Tyler aside. "I have something for you." She handed him an envelope. Tyler opened it carefully and pulled out a photograph. It showed the men's bathroom at Pete's Roadhouse. Someone had installed a small plaque on the wall where Tyler had been standing that fateful night. The plaque read, "Sometimes angels wear leather. Sometimes salvation comes from the most unexpected places. Never stop asking for help. Someone might just answer." Tyler's eyes filled with tears. "Natalie." Pete agreed to put it up. He said that bathroom has seen a lot of things, but nothing as important as the day a scared woman ran in and found exactly who she needed. Tyler pulled her into his arms, holding her tight. "Thank you," he breathed, "for running into that bathroom, for being brave enough to ask for help, for giving me a reason to be the man I always wanted to be." "Thank you for answering," Natalie said, "for standing between me and danger, for showing me what real love looks like." They held each other while their families celebrated around them, two survivors who'd built something beautiful from the ashes of their broken pasts. And somewhere in a federal prison, Cameron Foster sat alone in his cell, his power stripped away, his reign of terror ended by the woman he'd tried to destroy and the biker who'd refused to let her fall. Justice had prevailed, love had won, and Natalie Summers Harrison, kindergarten teacher, survivor, warrior, had reclaimed her life. Thank you for staying with this story from beginning to end. If it moved you, please share it with someone who needs to hear that healing is possible, that love exists even in darkness, and that asking for help is the bravest thing you can do. Comment below with your thoughts. I read every single one, and your engagement means the world. From wherever you're watching, London, Lagos, Los Angeles, or anywhere in between, thank you for being part of this journey. Remember, you deserve to be safe. You deserve to be loved. You deserve to be whole. And if you're in a situation like Natalie's, please reach out. National Domestic Violence Hotline, 1-800-799-7233. There are people ready to help. People ready to answer when you ask. Stay strong, stay safe, and never stop believing in second chances.